Have you ever had that gut feeling that something was seriously wrong, but everyone around you dismissed it as paranoia? That's exactly what happened to me last month. My husband Mark told me I was being dramatic and seeing things that weren't there. Even my best friend said I was just stressed and needed a vacation. But my instincts were screaming that something wasn't right in our home. And as it turns out, I wasn't crazy after all. If my 15-year-old daughter hadn't decided to check our security camera footage that night, I might never have discovered the terrifying truth about what was happening when I wasn't looking. Stay until the end to find out how one small decision to install security cameras literally saved my family and possibly our lives. Welcome to Plot Twist Life, where I share real stories that prove truth is often stranger than fiction. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our incredible true stories that might just save your life one day. Today's story is one I've been hesitant to share, but I feel it's important to warn others about the dangers that might be hiding in plain sight. It all started about 3 months ago. My husband Mark and I have been married for 17 years, and we live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Connecticut with our 15-year-old daughter, Emma, and our 12-year-old son Jacob. Mark works in finance and I run my own small interior design business from home. We're what most people would call a normal, happy family. Our house is a charming colonial-style home that we purchased 5 years ago. It's nestled at the end of a cul-de-sac, backing up to a wooded area that gives us privacy and a beautiful view. I've always loved our location. It felt secluded and safe. At least, that's what I thought until recently. The first incident happened on a Tuesday evening in March. Mark was working late, as he often did during tax season, and the kids were upstairs doing homework. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I heard what sounded like footsteps on our back deck. Our golden retriever, Bailey, immediately perked up and started growling, something he rarely does. I walked to the sliding glass door and peered out into the darkness. There was nothing there, but Bailey continued to growl, his eyes fixed on the woods behind our house. I flipped on the outdoor lights and scanned the tree line, but didn't see anything unusual. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been there. When Mark came home around 9, I told him what happened. He laughed it off, saying it was probably just a deer or a raccoon. "You've been watching too many of those true crime shows," he said, kissing me on the forehead. "The woods are full of animals, babe. That's why we have Bailey. He's our early warning system." I tried to believe him, but that night I had trouble sleeping. Every creak and groan of our old house made me sit up in bed, straining to hear if someone was trying to break in. Mark snored peacefully beside me, completely untroubled. A week later, it happened again. This time, I was working in my home office when I distinctly heard the sound of someone trying the handle on our front door. It was the middle of the day, and I wasn't expecting any deliveries or visitors. My heart racing, I walked to the door and looked through the peephole, but there was no one there. When I opened the door, I found a small package on our porch, something I'd ordered online, but no delivery person in sight. That evening, I mentioned it to Mark. "I think someone tried to break in today," I said as we were getting ready for bed. He sighed heavily. "Honey, it was probably just the Amazon delivery guy. They drop and run these days. But I heard someone trying the handle, like they were checking if it was locked," I insisted. Mark ran his hands through his hair, clearly frustrated. "Look, Sarah, I understand you're home alone a lot, and it can be scary, but you're starting to sound paranoid. We live in one of the safest neighborhoods in the area." "I know what I heard, Mark," I said, my voice rising. "And last week, there was definitely someone on our deck. Bailey doesn't growl at nothing." "Bailey would growl at his own shadow if he thought it was stealing his treats," Mark replied with a chuckle. "Listen, if it makes you feel better, we can look into getting a security system installed." I jumped at the opportunity. "Yes, that's exactly what we need. Something with cameras that we can monitor from our phones." Mark agreed, though I could tell he was just humoring me. The next day, he called a security company and scheduled an installation for the following week. In the meantime, I found myself constantly looking out windows, checking locks, and startling at every unexpected noise. Emma noticed my anxiety and asked what was wrong. I tried to downplay it, not wanting to scare her, but she's always been perceptive. "Mom, you've been acting weird. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetie," I assured her. "Just a little on edge lately. I think someone might have been snooping around the house, but Dad is taking care of it. We're getting security cameras installed." Emma looked concerned but didn't press the issue. Jacob, on the other hand, was excited about the cameras. "Cool, can we get the kind that sends alerts to our phones? My friend Tyler has those, and they caught his older brother sneaking out at night." The security system was installed on a Friday, cameras at our front door, back deck, and driveway, along with motion sensors on all ground floor windows and doors. The technician showed us how to use the app to monitor the cameras and receive alerts. Mark seemed satisfied with the setup, but I could tell he still thought I was overreacting. "There," he said after the technician left. "Now you can see that it's just squirrels and delivery people. Maybe you'll finally get some peace of mind." For a few days, everything was quiet. The security system sent occasional alerts when delivery trucks arrived or when the neighbor's cat wandered across our front yard, but nothing suspicious. I started to think that maybe Mark was right. Maybe I had been letting my imagination run wild. Then, exactly 1 week after the cameras were installed, something happened that sent chills down my spine. It was around 2 in the morning when my phone buzzed with an alert from the security app. Half asleep, I grabbed it from my nightstand and squinted at the screen. There was motion detected on our back deck. Fully awake now, I opened the app and watched the live feed. A figure dressed in dark clothing was standing on our deck, peering into our sliding glass door. The infrared camera captured their silhouette clearly against the darkness. They were wearing a hoodie pulled low over their face, making it impossible to identify them. As I watched in horror, they tried the handle on the door, then moved to one of the windows, testing it as well. I shook Mark awake, my hand trembling. "Mark, someone's on our deck, look." He groaned and reluctantly took the phone, staring at the screen with bleary eyes. By the time he focused on the image, the figure had disappeared back into the woods. "Did you see that?" I asked, my voice a panicked whisper. "Someone was trying to get in." Mark replayed the footage, frowning. "It's hard to tell, ... It could have been a teenager cutting through our yard. Or maybe someone walking their dog who got curious." "At 2 in the morning, I hissed, trying our door and window. "Mark, this is exactly what I've been telling you." He sighed and sat up, running a hand over his face. "Okay, let's not jump to conclusions. In the morning, I'll call the police and show them the footage. But it was probably just a one-time thing, maybe someone looking for a place to party. Saw the security camera, and took off." I couldn't believe how dismissive he was being. "This is the 3rd time, Mark. First the footsteps on the deck, then someone trying the front door, and now this. Someone is targeting our house." "Sarah, please," he said, his tone maddeningly calm. "You're going to wake the kids. We don't know that these incidents are related, and we don't know that anyone is targeting us. Let's just get some sleep and deal with this rationally in the morning." I was too upset to argue. I lay awake for the rest of the night, checking the security app every few minutes. The figure didn't return, but I couldn't shake the feeling of violation. Someone had been watching our house, looking for a way in. What did they want? Were they after our belongings, or was it something worse? In the morning, Mark called the police, as promised. An officer came by and viewed the footage, but his response was frustratingly similar to Mark's. "Unfortunately, we can't see the person's face," he explained. "They don't actually break in or damage anything, so there's not much we can do except file a report. I'd recommend keeping your doors and windows locked, especially at night." "That's it?" I asked, incredulous. "Someone is stalking our house, and all you can say is lock your doors." The officer gave me a sympathetic look. "Ma'am, I understand you're concerned, but at this point, there's no clear crime. The person could have been lost, or maybe they thought it was someone else's house. We'll increase patrols in your area for the next few weeks, but without more evidence, our hands are tied." After the officer left, Mark tried to reassure me. See, even the police aren't too worried. But we'll be extra careful, okay? The security system is working. It alerted us and probably scared them off. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. I wanted to scream. Why wouldn't anyone take this seriously? I knew in my gut that something was wrong, that this wasn't just a random incident. But without proof, I was being treated like a hysterical housewife, imagining dangers where none existed. For the next few days, I was on high alert. I checked the security app constantly, jumped at every notification, and made sure all doors and windows were locked before going to bed. Mark grew increasingly frustrated with what he called my obsession. You need to relax, Sarah, he said one evening after dinner. You're making yourself sick with worry, and you're scaring the kids. Emma asked me yesterday if someone was trying to hurt us. I felt a stab of guilt at that. I hadn't realized my anxiety was affecting the children so strongly. I'm sorry, but I can't just pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Someone was at our house, Mark. They tried to get in. Once, he exclaimed. One time, in the middle of the night, someone who was probably drunk or high wandered onto our property. It happens, but you're acting like we're under siege. Because I feel like we are. I shot back. You weren't here the other times. You didn't hear the footsteps, or someone trying the front door. Mark threw his hands up in exasperation. There's no talking to you when you get like this. I'm going to take a shower. He walked away, leaving me fuming in the kitchen. I knew what I had experienced was real, regardless of what Mark or anyone else believed. That night, I had trouble sleeping again. Mark had apologized before bed, saying he knew I was just worried about our family's safety, but I could tell he still thought I was overreacting. I lay awake, listening to the sounds of the house and checking the security app every few minutes. Around midnight, I finally drifted off, only to be awakened 2 hours later by another alert. Heart pounding, I grabbed my phone. Motion detected on the driveway. I opened the app with shaking fingers and watched as a dark figure moved slowly along the side of our house, staying close to the wall to avoid being clearly captured by the camera. I shook Mark awake again. They're back. Look, by the garage. He groaned and took the phone, squinting at the screen. The figure had disappeared from view. I don't see anything, he muttered. They were just there, I insisted, taking the phone back and rewinding the footage. But to my horror, the app showed no recorded activity for the past hour. That's impossible, I just saw them. Mark sighed heavily. Sarah, you were probably dreaming. Go back to sleep. I wasn't dreaming. I got an alert. I saw someone on the camera. Then where's the recording? He asked, his patience clearly wearing thin. The system records everything it detects. If there was someone there, we'd have footage. I stared at the app in disbelief. There was no notification history, no recorded clip, nothing to prove what I had seen. Had I imagined it? Was I so sleep-deprived and anxious that my mind was playing tricks on me? Mark rolled over and went back to sleep, but I couldn't. I sat up in bed, replaying what I'd seen in my mind. I was certain someone had been there, moving along the side of our house. But without evidence, I was starting to doubt myself. The next morning, I mentioned what happened to Emma as I drove her to school. Mark had already left for work, and Jacob was riding with a friend's parent that day. Mom, are you sure you're okay? Emma asked, concern evident in her voice. Dad says you've been really stressed lately. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I'm fine, sweetie. I'm just worried about these strange things happening around the house. Emma hesitated, then said, you know, I can help you check the security footage if you want. I'm pretty good with that stuff. I glanced at her, surprised. That would be great, actually. The app seems to be malfunctioning. Last night I got an alert and saw someone, but when I tried to show your dad, the recording was gone. That's weird, Emma frowned. The system should save everything for at least 30 days. Maybe there's a glitch in the app. After school, Emma sat down with my phone and began exploring the security system app more thoroughly than I had. She navigated through settings and menus I didn't even know existed. Mom, she said after about 20 minutes, her voice oddly quiet. I think I found something. I looked over her shoulder at the screen. What is it? There's a second account linked to our system. Someone else has access to our cameras. I felt the blood drain from my face. What? How is that possible? Emma pointed to a section in the settings labeled Users. There, alongside our family's accounts, was an unfamiliar username, Night Watcher. I don't understand, I said, my hands starting to shake. Who is that? How did they get access? Emma's face was pale. I don't know, but look at this. She navigated to another screen that showed activity logs. They've been logging in almost every night for the past 2 weeks, and they've been deleting footage. My stomach dropped. Deleting footage. So last night, when I saw someone, they must have deleted it remotely, Emma finished, her voice barely above a whisper. Mom, someone's been watching us and erasing the evidence. I felt sick. All this time, I thought I was being paranoid, but my instincts had been right. Someone had been stalking our house, and worse, they had somehow gained access to our security system. We need to call the police, I said, already reaching for the phone. And your father. He needs to know about this. Emma grabbed my wrist. Wait, Mom, if we call the police now, we won't have any proof. They'll just say it could be a glitch or something. And Dad ... you know he'll say we're overreacting. She was right. Without concrete evidence, the police would likely dismiss our concerns again, and Mark would probably think I had somehow created the fake account myself to prove my point. What do you suggest? I asked. Emma's expression was determined. Let's set a trap. We know they've been logging in and deleting footage. If we can catch them in the act, we'll have proof. How do we do that? We'll need to use a separate camera, one that's not connected to the security system, Emma explained. I have an old laptop with a webcam. We can set it up to record the security monitor while it's displaying the live feed. That way, if anything happens and they delete it from the main system, we'll still have our own copy. I hesitated. I don't know, Emma, if this person is dangerous ... Mom, they're already watching us, she said firmly. We need to find out who it is before they do something worse. Trust me, this will work. Reluctantly, I agreed to her plan. That evening, we set up Emma's laptop in the living room, positioned to record the screen of my tablet, which was displaying the security camera feeds. We made sure the setup wasn't visible from any of the windows, then went about our normal evening routine. Mark came home late from work and was too tired to notice our surveillance setup. We didn't tell him about the Night Watcher accountant yet. First, we needed proof. That night, I barely slept. I lay in bed next to Mark, listening to every sound and checking the security app periodically. Around 1:30 in the morning, I received an alert. Motion detected on the back deck. My heart racing, I slipped out of bed without waking Mark and went downstairs to the living room. Emma was already there, having set an alarm on her phone for the alert. We watched in silence as the security feed showed a hooded figure moving across our back deck. It's them, I whispered, clutching Emma's hand. We watched as the figure tried the sliding door handle, then moved to check the windows. After a few minutes, they retreated back into the woods. Just as before, I received no further alerts, and when I checked the app, there was no record of the activity. But this time, we had our own recording. Emma's laptop had captured everything, including the moment when the footage disappeared from the official security app. We got them, Emma said, her voice a mix of triumph and fear. Now we have proof. We reviewed the footage from Emma's laptop. It clearly showed the intruder on our deck, as well as the subsequent deletion of that footage from the security system. There was no denying it, now someone was watching our house and covering their tracks. The next morning, while Mark was in the shower, I showed Emma what I had discovered. Look at this, I said, pointing to the Night Watcher account details. The account was created the day after the security system was installed. Emma's eyes widened. That means ... It has to be someone connected to the security company, I finished, someone who had access to our system during setup. We looked at each other, the realization dawning on us both. The very system that was supposed to protect us had been compromised from the beginning. When Mark came downstairs for breakfast, I was ready. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady. "And this time, you need to listen." He sighed, clearly expecting another paranoid rant, but sat down at the kitchen table. "What is it, Sarah?" "Someone has been stalking our house. Just like I said," I began. "And they've been accessing our security system, deleting footage of themselves." Mark opened his mouth to protest, but Emma cut him off. "It's true, Dad, look." She placed her laptop on the table and played the recording we'd made last night. Mark watched in silence as the hooded figure appeared on our deck. Then the footage vanished from the security app while remaining visible on our separate recording. That's not possible," he stammered, his face pale. "How?" "There's a second user account on our security system," I explained, showing him the Night Watcher profile. "It was created right after installation. Someone from the security company must have set it up." Mark stared at the screen, his disbelief turning to horror. "We need to call the police. Right now." Within an hour, 2 police officers were sitting in our living room, reviewing our evidence. This time, they took us seriously. Very seriously. "You did the right thing by recording this," one officer said, his expression grim. "This is definitely concerning behavior. Do you have any idea who this Night Watcher might be?" I explained our theory about the security company. The officers nodded and took notes. "We'll need the name of the company and the technician who did the installation," the second officer said. "We'll also need to take your laptop as evidence, if that's okay." Emma handed over her laptop, and Mark provided all the information about the security company. The officers assured us they would investigate immediately and advised us to stay with friends or family until they had more information. "I'm so sorry I didn't believe you," Mark said after the police left. He looked devastated. "All this time, you were right, and I treated you like you were crazy." "It's okay," I said, though part of me was still angry. "What matters now is keeping our family safe." We decided to stay with my sister, who lived about 30 miles away. As we were packing, I received a call from one of the officers who had visited earlier. "Mrs. Reynolds, we've made some progress on your case," he said. "The security company provided information on the technician who installed your system. His name is Daniel Foster, and he has a criminal record for stalking and breaking and entering." My blood ran cold. "Did you find him?" "Not yet," the officer admitted. "He didn't show up for work today, and his apartment appears to be empty. We have an APB out for him, but in the meantime, I strongly recommend you don't return to your house." I thanked the officer and relayed the information to Mark and the kids. We finished packing in tense silence, all of us processing the reality that someone had been watching us, planning who knows what. We spent the next 3 days at my sister's house, while the police searched for Daniel Foster. On the 4th day, we received the call we'd been waiting for. They had found him hiding in a cabin about 20 miles from our house. In his possession were detailed notes about our family's routines, copies of our house keys, and most disturbing of all, photographs taken through our windows when we weren't home. The police investigation revealed that Foster had been stalking multiple families whose security systems he had installed. He would create hidden admin accounts, monitor their activities through the cameras, and periodically visit their homes to familiarize himself with entry points. His ultimate goal, according to the evidence found in his cabin, was burglary, but, given the extensive surveillance and planning, the police suspected his intentions might have been even more sinister. Foster was arrested and charged with multiple counts of stalking, unauthorized access to security systems, attempted breaking and entering, and violation of probation from his previous convictions. He's currently awaiting trial and facing significant prison time. As for us, we've since moved to a new house in a different neighborhood. We still have a security system, but this time, we had it installed by a reputable company that Mark researched extensively, and we regularly check for unauthorized access. I also insisted on getting a large dog, not another golden retriever like Bailey, but a German shepherd named Guardian, trained specifically for protection. The experience changed us all. Mark no longer dismisses my concerns or intuitions. In fact, he's become even more security conscious than I am. Emma has developed an interest in cybersecurity and is considering it as a career path. And I've learned to trust my instincts, even when others think I'm overreacting. Looking back, I shudder to think what might have happened if Emma hadn't discovered the hidden account that night. Sometimes, the difference between safety and danger is simply paying attention to the warning signs and taking them seriously. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And always check who has access to your security systems. Thank you for listening to my story today. If you found it helpful or eye-opening, please hit that subscribe button and join our Plot Twist Life community. Share this video with someone who might benefit from this warning. And remember, sometimes the plot twist in your life might be exactly what you need to keep yourself and your loved ones safe. I'll see you in the next video.